Hello, everyone. Before I start, if anybody can let me know I'm audible, loud and clear.
Yes, Ekta, you are very
ma'am.
much clear.
You are audible very much.
Yes, you are
Thank you so
audible.
much. Thank you so much, everyone. So yes, hello, very good afternoon, everyone, and to myself, Ekta Dubey. On behalf of the Brinalytics and our partner VCS, we welcome you all and thank you for being part of our roundtable, which is Industry 4.2, Gain Cost Leadership in Cement Industry. Before we start the roundtable, there are a few guidelines that I would quickly like to highlight and make you people aware of. Requesting all the attendees to be on mute when the speakers are taking the session. We will, of course, open up for the Q&A after the roundtable, where the attendees can ask the questions, if any, to the respective speakers. So the guidelines are you need to raise your hands, unmute yourself on your video, introduce yourself, and put your concerned questions to the speakers. So to start with, first, I would like to introduce our title partner, VCS. VCS offers digitally intelligent solutions worldwide. It includes real-time monitoring and analytics, IIoT integration, edge analytics, digital logbook, and predictive analytics using AI ML. VCS takes the responsibility to engage with clients in opportunity assessment, calculating value of improvement, building a business blueprint, delivering required hardware, software, service, and support to ensure that the improvement initiatives are successfully implemented. Today, we have some interesting speakers from the cement fraternity who would be, and we have gathered great industry starlets who will be talking and exploring the potential of why cement producers need to embrace Industry 4.2, understand how the first movers in the industry will generate substantial value and build a strong competitive lead. So now, starting with, first I would like to welcome Mr. Kamaldeep Singh, Executive Director and CEO with Value Chain Solutions India Private Limited. To speak about him, he is a strategic leader for more than 25 years of experience in operations and information technology management. So over to you, Mr. Kamaldeep, and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Ekta. Thank you so much. And thanks all the participants for devoting your time. We all know that during these COVID days, it is very difficult to run operations and there are so many challenges in the manufacturing side. So in spite of all that, all of you are here for a brief session of around 2 hours, 1.5 or 2 hours. So we thank all of you and we look forward to hearing your valuable views during this session. Thank you, Ekta.
Thank you, Mr. Kamaldeep, for sharing the interesting opening up. So everyone, before we go to the round table today, we have one of the speakers who actually got an important engagement today, and we were happy to have him, but suddenly there was something which was very important that he couldn't escape at 4. So he requested us to be there, and we are happy to have him on board along with other industry speakers. So I would like to welcome now Dr. Arvind Bodankar. He's the Executive Director and EGS and Chief Risk Officer with Dalmia Bharat Cement. And he is here with us and he wants to share some interesting insights on how cement is produced economically and environmental friendly manner. So Dr. Arvind, thank you so much for being here. We understand you had an important engagement and on the request you stayed back. Thank you so much. Please share your wonderful insights.
So thank you, Ekta. Thank you, Priyanka. Thank you, Brinalytics. Thank you, Ecubix, for inviting me. My sincere apologies because I got a meeting at 4 o'clock with the Additional Secretary DPIT, and this has come up at a very last moment, and it's unavoidable. So my apologies to all the participants and all the other speakers who are lined up. The question, Ekta, what you asked me is about, in fact, how can we produce cement economically and ecologically? Cement, all of you know that it is one of the highest consumed material on the earth after water. Obviously, you can't think of anything without cement, may it be a road, may it be a building, may it be any other structure. When it comes to the Indian context, definitely we are a developing country. A lot of development is happening over here, and we also have the program going on affordable housing, and government is also pushing up this thing in a big way. So there is a tremendous pressure on cost also. Cement per se is a commodity, and you just can't differentiate much one cement with the other. And how can we compete? The only thing which we can compete is on the cost, and all of us know that how much pressure we all are as an industry we are facing on the cost. At the same time, cement is also seen as a culprit because of the CO2 footprint it has. And many of you know that cement contributes almost 8% to the global CO2 pool. At the same time, cement plants are huge. And when you have to produce cement, a lot of mining activity, a lot of exploration activity happens. And in a process, displacement of biodiversity, deforestation, all those kind of things happen. So as a result, one is that a lot of virgin raw material is being consumed by the cement industry, and it contributes substantially to the global CO2 pool. So both ways it is being seen as a culprit industry. But there is some good part of this cement industry also, and which perhaps as a community, as a fraternity, we must highlight. And if you look at cement, what would have happened in absence of a cement? And as a part of my earlier company, I have been presenting to various forums, and the Atal tunnel which we built will save about 4 million tons of CO2 in a year. If we avoid the traffic or the congestion. Cement industry, there is a lot of industrial waste and municipal solid waste developed, generated across the all the cities. And most of this is consumed by cement industry. In absence of cement industry, what would have happened? So cement industry in a way is really helping the community, is helping the environment in reducing the footprint also. But yes, there is a tremendous pressure on the cost, and the cost and the pressure is because of at a high level, all of us know that 14% could be a raw material cost, 27% could be about energy cost, and 33%, which is the highest, is the logistics cost. And this in the past 1.5 year, looking at the diesel prices which has gone up, this prices have also, the logistic cost has also gone up through the roofs, and there is a tremendous pressure on this. So how do we balance ecology and the cost which is there? That's a tremendous challenge currently cement industry is facing. And some of the challenges, how I have been, or some of my companies have been doing it, is first of all is how can we reduce the virgin raw material. So this can be done either by using the alternative binders, and all of us have been doing that. We have been using the percentage of OPC across the industry is reducing, and we have been using fly ash, we have been using steel plant slags to reduce the pressure on the raw material, the virgin raw material, and that is helping us to save the virgin raw material. Also at the same time, it is helping us to reduce the cost. On the energy front, if you see, most of the cement industry are now moving towards the solar power. And I can tell you, the industry where I work, I mean, we have reached to a level of about 25% of the power coming from the renewable sources, green sources. In fact, I would say WHRS, of course, we have been pushing in a big way. Because we generate a lot of the heat, and cement is produced at 1400 plus degrees Celsius, and we have a lot of wastage. So we are recovering, we are in fact using this wastage to produce power. And also there is a good push on the renewables, the solar and the wind also. So almost 20-25% of the power is currently sourced through the renewable way, and most of the cement industry has already committed for RE100 or those kind of initiatives. On the logistics front, there is always a challenge, and people have been moving on. There is always a struggle between choosing rail versus road versus shipping. While rail has been very economical and industry has been moving towards the rail, so a lot of bulk transportation is happening. Most of the grinding units, most of the integrated units are going for a railway siding in their own area, and that is in fact helping the industry to reduce the cost. And since the profitability and sustainability goes hand in hand, the moment you make an effort on the sustainability, you will find that it automatically reduces your expenses, and then cement can be balanced economically and ecologically. So there are multiple levers we can take, but I would not like to consume the time, and maybe allow other leaders also to, other panelists also to contribute. So would like to take a pause over here and hand it over back to Ekta. Ekta, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Arvind, for sharing interesting insights. So, of course, we have along with you Shrenik and Mr. Kamaldeep, sir. So, Shrenik and Kamaldeep, do you want to add here before he takes a leave?
No. So thank you, Dr. Arvind. I think you've actually covered a lot of aspects on the economics and the ecological part, and also given certain inputs on what are the parameters which needs to be controlled to ensure that the costs and everything can be controlled. But as you rightly said, also affordable housing is one of the initiative which the government is taking. There are a lot of other infrastructure projects also. If you look at the Golden Quadrilateral or the other highways which are coming up in UP, Haryana, and all that stuff, I think cement is one of the most critical aspects of the infrastructure thing. So it's very, very important to ensure that we have the economics as well as the ecological part also to be taken care, so that the carbon footprint also is less. And as you rightly mentioned, in the last 2 years, the freight has actually gone up, not only in the cement part of it, but across all the domains and verticals. Wherever we talk about today, the freight cost, which earlier was probably $200 or so, which is actually gone to $8,000 in some cases in some of the businesses. So very difficult to ensure that we manage the cost versus the kind of quality of product that we need to deliver to ensure that we basically come out as one of the manufacturing hub globally for a lot of our other businesses also. But cement definitely is a huge industry for us, and looking at the overall growth story which India is talking globally, I think one of the most important pillar is going to be one of the cement domains and cement vertical. So I would just like to top up with what you have said, Dr. Arvind. And thank you very much for joining in, and we would definitely miss your interesting insights on this particular session, but nevertheless, we will definitely reach out to you post this session for a one-on-one meeting with you and your team. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Shrenik. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Arvind. And now, as per the flow, again, I would like to invite Mr. Shrenik Shah, Vice President, Sales and Marketing with Value Chain Solutions India Private Limited, to share his thoughts and move on further. Over to you, Mr. Shrenik.
Thank you, Ekta. So I'll not take much of your time. I'll just basically give you a brief about what eCubix is all about, which already Ekta has given. And then I would request Ekta to run the corporate video, and before we actually move on to our esteemed speakers who are going to take us through to this entire presentation. So on behalf of Team eCubix and its management, we would like to thank all the esteemed guests who have taken out time and joined this particular roundtable. As eCubix, we have successfully leveraged the IT and automation synergies to deliver Industry 4.0 solutions to our global customers. We work as both partners and ensure that our partners' customers get the best value out of the investment it makes. As mentioned in my WhatsApp group also, we started this initiative of doing this roundtable discussions to get thought leaders on a platform where they can share their experience on the best practices, the business drivers, and peer-to-peer sharing of knowledge and new technologies, which can help each and every one of us to bring a change in the organization and deliver good customer experience and accelerate our business growth. So this is our fifth roundtable discussion in this particular year. And we've been doing this across different domains, but the idea is to bring thought leaders on a platform and see to it that if we can bring a change in how organizations, how thought process of industry leaders are coming out to change the way businesses are operating. My 2 cents on what new technology trends which are there in 2022 would be increased use of IoT sensors, data and analytics. Data has become the new oil today, which everyone knows. Cybersecurity, customer experience, employee engagement platforms, because virtually working for last 1.5 to 2 years and moving to the hybrid model, going to online, going to offline, I think very, very critical aspect for all organizations to ensure that how we keep the engagement morale up, how we keep the engagement of the employees, how we keep the engagement of the customers going. And last not the least, but machine learning and data science is something which everyone is looking forward. I think digital transformation, which everyone had embarked probably 4 years back, but had to speed up their investments in this particular thing because of this COVID situation. And I think a lot of organizations are moving in a very positive direction. And as eCubix, we've created this particular roundtable discussion platform across different domains and verticals to ensure that thought leaders, industry stalwarts come on this platform, share their views, which will help peers and help create a succession plan for a lot of organizations. So thank you once again for joining this particular roundtable, and over to you, Ekta, for running the corporate video. And then I would invite Kamal for a brief presentation.
Sure, we'll do that. Thank you so much.
Ekta, audio is not coming.
Sorry, you can't hear the audio?
Yeah, audio was not coming. So if you can just replay it again.
I'll do that right away.
Of the digital future. VR, eCubix, the growth catalyst in your digital transformation journey. Tuned to the pulse of the digital future. We drive innovation with the digital technology ecosystem. From a humble beginning in 2006, we have transformed eCubix as one of the top industry 4.0 solution providers. We are now serving clients in 15+ countries. We are a CMMI Level 3 certified company, serving 100,000+ users with a strong team of 200+ technocrats. So far, industry has achieved more than $350 million saving from eCubix products and services, and the same is still counting. Our presence is in industries like cement, agrochemical, pharmaceutical, pulp and paper, minerals and metals, ports, oil and gas, power. eCubix is organized in 4 strategic business units, each focusing on different area of an enterprise. Smart Factory to improve production process and asset performance. Smart Supply Chain for better fleet management. Smart Channel for brand protection through genealogy and serialization, and Smart Sales for field activity management. eCubix brings global best products to solve industry problems through strategic business partnerships with world leaders like OSI Soft, now Aviva, Seek, Waterfall, Sato, Microsoft, eCubex is your growth catalyst for digital age technologies.
Thank you, Ekta.
Welcome, Shrenik. So should we move on, Shrenik?
Yes, we can move on.
So now again, moving forward, again, I would like to invite Mr. Kamaldeep Singh, Executive Director and CEO with Value Chain Solutions, to share some insights. Over to you, Mr. Kamaldeep. So.
Yeah, thank you, Ekta. I will share a couple of experiences which happened in the recent past first before we get into the detailed presentation. Recently, I think most of you are aware that Tesla is launching a new mobile. And if they're saying what are the features of these new mobile, one is if you can throw it from your hand or even from 10 feet or 12 feet distance, it doesn't break. No single scratch on the screen. Then you can even mine your Bitcoins through that. You can use their satellite internet connection and all other services which they're bundling. You can manage your car, you can manage other things with that. So it seems to be a very upcoming technology which is going to hit very soon. Look at the plight of Apple, what is going to happen with them, Samsung and other players in the market. Something happened with BlackBerry, we all know, long time back. It was one of the players now. Where does it exist? Similar thing we also came across. We are doing some study for cement industry in Thailand, where we see that China is building a corridor, quadrilateral corridor, where they are investing in smaller countries. They are investing in Laos, they are investing in Cambodia. Thailand, which was exporter of cement, is suddenly going to hit with large capacities put by China players, and they'll become a net importing country because the cement will start flowing from Cambodia, Laos to Thailand. So it's a major impact to the Thailand players, which is going to happen in 2024 because the plants are already under construction. And these are around 5 million ton plants which are coming up. Now, if we look at these dynamics, and even in India, very close by in Gujarat, for example, Morbi is a state which is very popularly known for tile manufacturing. Right now, which has two consumption items. One is gas, another one is electricity. Material cost is hardly anything for them. So in terms of electricity, they are trying to reduce that cost by more than 60–70% by putting up a solar plant. So a couple of industrialists have come together and they are putting up a solar plant to cater to the demand of all the Morbi region, or to provide them cheaper power. So with that, they are going to capture that, and the cost of electricity is going to reduce significantly. They have already acquired more than 3,000 acre land, and they're building up that. So there are so many changes. The way we see it, when the interaction happens across industries, there is so much of pressure, so many changes that small change is not good enough. So there has to be a big transformation. Small incremental reduction, incremental improvement in sales, incremental improvement in maybe the maintenance cost and other things may not be viable or may not be good enough in the coming days or coming years. So with that perspective, we have we want to open this session, and I would like to share my screen. So can I share that?
Yeah, you'll have to just share screen. You've been to the co-host.
Yeah.
Yeah, your screen is visible.
Okay, thank you. So for example, today's topic, we are talking about cost leadership. Industry 4.0, not just because it's a buzzword, because there is a lot of meaning. The long time back, people are talking about convergence and new revolution, and which we see now, right now happening. So we'll talk about it in the coming slides. So brief eCubics, you're already aware. I will not spend too much time on that. Just like to iterate that there are a couple of clients who have trusted us, including Ultratech, Ambuja Cement, Adani, ACC. So our association with cement industries have been more than a decade old. We have been operating in Asia Pacific region. Started with more of a consulting exercise, but it moved to IT and then IT OT solutions. OT mean anything which is coming from the shop floor, whether it's a grinding unit or it's any manufacturing control system, extracting the data and creating value for the industry. So if you look at what is a digital challenge, what exactly are the challenges which we see? We see a lot of systems already existing in a cement plant. We are already aware that we have crushing unit and grinding and kiln and then CPP and so many other large infrastructure in the cement plant. But everywhere we may come across a different PLC, DCS and different control system. So we acquire a plant, we go for expansions. The day we started the plant and where we are right now, the complexity is continuously increasing. And there is more and more demand of putting some of this data to either to ERP or some maintenance analytics system or some other cloud solutions, whether that is for security reasons or some other reasons. Now, this creates huge challenges. Now, what we come up with or what we are presenting right now, a lot of you may be aware and maybe using the system, but we are partner of OSI Soft in India and Asia Pacific. OSI Soft is a centralized piece which creates a data infrastructure for all the cement equipments. It can be a mining truck, it can be a crusher, it can be any mill, whether it's a coal mill, cement mill or anything else. So it bridges the gaps which are there because we are talking to different PLC, different DCS and different vendors. So this is a vendor agnostic system which put all the data together and we have a single source of truth. And for the last 35 years, the company is only building PI system. So it means any new devices, new IoT sensor which are coming up, anywhere launched in the world, they will have a protocol integration program with that, and which is built in. Once you get a PI system, this is automatically get upgraded and you are having all these upgrades with you. And then you can connect. So the idea is to get all the data on a single platform. So what happens with that? Once we have the critical data, critical systems well integrated. So earlier it's a control room, people, they have the data, they manage, and we can have multiple control rooms. We have come across steel plants and pharma plants and other plants, even cement plants, they have multiple control rooms. And there they have multiple screens, whether that is fully integrated or not. But once your data infrastructure come in picture or PI system come in picture, number one, it makes the security parameter of the critical system more secure. It means the control room and our OT system or control systems become more secure because we are putting a link between this control system to OSI Soft PI, and from PI we are exposing the data wherever it has to go for any analytics or any BI tool or any AI/ML program or any ERP integration. So one is moving the data out from the control room, so it is available to the people who need it. This is not only pertaining to data, it is also pertaining to the human knowledge. If there is a smart engineer or smart plant manager who has done a wonderful job on, let's say, improving OE by taking certain measures. So it means that knowledge is still within. And we have seen when people retire, that knowledge goes with them. So we need to get that knowledge and put that into the system. So when in PI system, for example, there is a functionality which we call event frame, which builds based upon logic. and that logic is captured in the system. And later on in the organization, you can put that to anywhere else, to any other coal mill, cement mill, to any other plant. So those best practices shared. So it reduces the risk on the critical system, and the data gets migrated, and to all the people who want to use the data, they will have access to that data. If you see at the bottom, we have shown that there are mining, crushing, and main process, including CPP. These are different sections of a large setup which cement industry has, each creating or generating its own set of data, from DCS data to vibration analytics data, or laboratory information system, telemetry data, even our financial data of doing these conversions. And now what we want to do with this as an industry, we are looking at energy management, which was already shared, that we want to reduce energy. We just heard very valuable views that people are looking at, even fly ash and slag and other additives, plus energy cost reduction is another, OE improvement, which comes out from yield improvement and predictive maintenance, or total productive maintenance. So all these things are related with each other. So how do we achieve that? Whether that is good monitoring of the processes which are running, or we enable our people who are there on the shop floor or the engineers in charge with better tools, better insights, so that they can perform better. So we will show here some of the examples where people have used this technology. I'm not limiting only on one technology, but Pi system creates a data infrastructure. It means all your operational data, which is time series data, temperature, pressure, inlet pressure, etc., all comes at one place. And it is not only data, insight. So what is that insight? That also we'll talk in a while. In addition to that, any other data coming from testing labs, from ERP system, that also can be linked with that. So what we see on screen becomes more contextualized. It's not just a curve or a trend going up and down, but we know why it is going up, for which product my energy consumption is up or low. And then there is a lot of AI, ML, or various other techniques which can be used, so that we can achieve the objective which are shown here, like energy management, OE improvement, and predictive maintenance, etc. Now, if you look at one of the component, for example, is an asset framework. What is an asset framework? On the right-hand side, you can see that all the assets are connected. Finally, in a cement mill, we have crusher, or we have, let's say, 3 plants. In one plant, so many crushers, and then you have so many mills, and what type of mill. So it is a structure which takes a user to the right equipment, and there's a data models behind that. So all things get combined on one single screen. We can see that, okay, what is happening at raw mill, or what happens on heat exchangers, which heat exchanger I need to attend to, and which one I don't have to attend to right now. So the exception-based maintenance sets in. So once the data and all the information comes in play, and we have that, how do I use it? How does it helps through the cement player to the industry? So here, one of the example we have shown is on the cement mill stoppage. Let's say in the graph, if you can see on the left-hand side, which is on months, that in a particular month, how many stoppages used to happen, 28, 41, 62, etc. That was before people start working on the system, or trying to do a data-driven decisions. So what are the data-driven decisions, and how do they do that? We will talk about it in this and subsequent slide. But overall, the number of trippings decreased after the implementation. If you see 62, 68, it has come down to 11, 19, 11. Why? So they looked at the problems of whether the fluctuation in fly ash flow. So this particular case I'm talking about, where they are saying why the cement mill is stopping. So all that analysis was done, and it came out that these are the 4 major areas which were there, which was fluctuation in fly ash flow, water spray problem and wearing of the nozzle, or the inlet temperature difference, or the lumps in gypsum. So how this was possible? How they could identify these as the problem? Once they see the data, trends, insight, the exceptional messages that, okay, I can look at this data in a window of 1 day, 1 month, 1 year. Can I see the 1 year data of my mill stoppages? And at that point of time, what was the fly ash flow, or what was my gypsum size? Can I have the inlet temperature profile during this 1 year or 1 month when my incidents of mill stoppages increased to 88 from 62? So what is changing? So when they looked at all this analysis, they found out certain solutions, which we have indicated on the right hand side. And this is a real example which the client has implemented, one of the cement company. So they took certain measures to control that. For example, restricting the gypsum size to 50 mm or certain other modifications in the system. While doing that, they come out to a cost saving, which is calculated and shared by them, which is around 1 CR if you can look at per annum. So this is one initiative. So this was enabled because all the data was available on a single platform. They could deep dive, they can see the trends, they can see the exceptions, and they can see the ad hoc analysis they can do themselves. We'll also see that how does it look as a user, how does it feel? But at the same time, the same company I'm talking about, they did multiple implementations. If you look at the bottom graph, here Kaizens is mentioned. They have done more than 1700 implementations. It means one single data infrastructure, but more than 1700 improvement programs on that. Somewhere it is on cement mill stoppage, somewhere on the coal mill stoppage, somewhere on the condition monitoring of pumps, somewhere condition monitoring of grinding station, etc., or the emission control. So each one of those measures was a saving for the company. So what they try to do, they try to create a digital twin in the form of a system, a data infrastructure where all the data is there with the enabled tools for analysis, enabled tool for insights. And then they started improving the system bit by bit by bit by bit. And that's how, if you see the top graph, which shows that, look at the golden bar, before implementation and after implementation. What was the specific power per ton of cement? If it was higher in the initial period, you see after implementation of various measures, the company has done a lot of modifications in the existing system. They were able to reduce their energy costs significantly. And this journey continues. It's a never ending journey for improvements. So how does the system look? How does the decision support works? For example, here you see the system is something like that. Once everything is integrated, you don't have to worry about whether it's an Emerson system or ABB system or which control room or which plant. From a single screen, you can navigate to any of the equipment. For example, here it is shown asset, a crushing and conveying. You can look at crushing and conveying. You can look at plant 1, plant 2. From crushing, you can look at grinding. So what you want to look at. On the left-hand side, there are multiple things. And these are all standard widgets, you can say, in a way. And sitting with the user or with the best practices from industry principle, we'll hear from them after a while. And they are all there on this call now. So they will tell you more about it. But the idea is that these are configurable things on the screen where you see, okay, what is my running time, what is my electricity consumption, or what is my total consumption per ton. And on the bottom, if you see 8 hours. You can see 8-hour trend, you can see 1 hour, you can see 6 hour, 1 year even. On a millisecond, the screen gets refreshed and you can see the whole trend. And it does not impact any of your control system. You are not going and touching your control systems. Anyone in your company, whether it's a maintenance engineer, it's a process engineer, it's a separate team who's trying to improve a particular process. It may be a grinding process, for example. So they look at the data and then come out with the solutions. And on the right top corner, if you see red, green traffic light signal, so which says which thing is critical right now pertaining to crushing and conveying. So if it is nearing downtime, so that is where the predictive maintenance come in place, vibration analysis come in place. There are models which are built in, which says that what is the remaining life of that particular motor or compressor or turbine or boiler, that if we don't attend to it now, that maybe after 4 hours, we'll have failure. So instead of, and failure for what reason, that also is identified. There are tools which can help us. And these are all plug and play type of tool. And what the user see is the red, green, and yellow. And they say, okay, this is red, it means I have to attend to it early. And what is the issue? Maybe related to oil or high vibration. And what I need to fix, this particular pump, this particular motor. So these are the decision support. All these screens, these are configurable. I'm just showing you a sample, but many of this for each of the area. For example, these are the control. You can look at managing a process. When we look at any manufacturing, we look at not one equipment, but a process which is need to be managed along with its attached motors, compressors, and other allied equipment, ancillary equipments. So if you have an idea about the whole process, it enables the engineers and supervisor and maintenance people to handle that process in a much better way. So these are various decision support analytics which are built, and this is broadly what we wanted to share. That many of these result into increase in productivity, increase in OE, and reduction in per ton of cost. And companies have reduced that. And globally also, there are many organizations who have gained advantage by integrating IT and OT system and bringing that data out of control room and giving it to the people who can analyze it. And more about the global experiences, we have the industry principal also on the call, and we also have people from OSIsoft. They will also share. And if any of the people from cement industry who are using PI system or data infrastructure tools, any of the other data infrastructure tools, they can share their experience, and we'll be happy to learn from them as well. That's what I wanted to share about the presentation. Thank you. Ekta, to you, and open for questions, if any.
Thank you, Mr. Kamaldeep, for sharing interesting insights. Any questions? What we can do is, because we already are at 4:15, we would like to put your questions on the chat box, where we have Shrenik and Kamaldeep sir who can take it from there. And meanwhile, I would quickly like to invite Martin Provencio, his industry principal, mining metals and materials at AVEVA, with more than 25 years of experience, to share some interesting insights very quickly. So we would love sticking to the time. And over to you, Martin.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll share my screen here. Okay, so I guess now you see my screen.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, first, thanks for inviting me to this event. My name is Martin Provencher. I'm the Global Industry Principal for Mining Metals and Materials, including cement, of course, at AVEVA. I'm located in Quebec, Canada. So it's pretty early for me this morning, and I'm really happy to be here. Today, I'll be going through the steps to succeed in the digital transformation journey. We've had great insights just before, and I'll be basically sharing with you some great customer examples that we have. So first, let's have a look at the forecast for the industry. It is expected that cement demand in India will grow in 2022 by almost 9%. So this is very good news. Although, like we've seen in 2021, and like all other countries, India is also facing social and environmental challenges, which are having impacts on cement producers, with the operating costs mainly. So we need to find ways to reduce costs. And according to a McKinsey study, digitization and sustainability taken together, can help increase, of course, the margin by $4 to $9 per ton of cement. So this is a big thing. And as you can see with this diagram, digital initiatives will play an important role of up to 63% of potential cost improvement initiatives in areas such as yield, the energy and throughput, productivity and maintenance, repair and overhaul, and even in raw materials management. So there are great challenge or opportunities in terms of cost savings. Now, when we talk about digital transformation, a lot of people think about implementing artificial intelligence straight away. Artificial intelligence is a great technology, but I wanted to review briefly the analytics journey with you, because this is a step-by-step approach. You first start by having visibility on your process, as we've seen earlier. This can bring huge savings. I mean, then you allow your people to see production totals, KPI, key performance indicator, in a descriptive way. Then they can start investigating historical data for diagnostics to identify root causes, which will then be used to start implementing condition monitoring to enable simple predictions with known conditions that your people have found doing investigation on the process for environment, energy, reliability, etc. And then you can start thinking about complex predictions where a system will actually find things that your people were not able to identify yet. So using pattern recognition and statistical models that we find typically in predictive analytical tools. Then we'll start moving into prescriptive and adaptive analytics by involving data scientists to eventually implement machine learning and artificial intelligence, for example, for autonomous operations. And then we'll be basically replacing human by autonomous artificial intelligence systems. So what's important to note here is that based on the experience we see with our customers, there's a lot of value that can be obtained in the first levels of the analytics journey, using, of course, their PI system. And that's what we'll see in the following example. Now, let's start with a sustainability example. I mean, here, this is from Cemex. Cemex is a global building materials company that is headquartered in Mexico. They have locations all around the world. So they basically performed their digital transformation journey years ago, and they started with the first steps of the analytics journey, visualize operations in real time and monitor through descriptive analytics with real-time trends and KPIs that were analyzed by their people. So they started implementing conditions to correlate environmental emissions with process control conditions. All those environmental compliancy regulation rules that they have to follow were, of course, implemented into their PI system. And at that time, their people were able to see in real time KPIs and statistical information about their operations. So this is a great example, I mean, to start in the process or in the digital transformation journey. They then did the same for energy consumption by collecting all the operational data coming from the different, of course, data sources that they had, and they were able to start trending energy consumption for each of their assets, and of course, implementing KPI for those major equipment. Again, this was done in their real-time operational data infrastructure, the PI system, and it allowed them to reduce, of course, fuel usage, energy consumption, which had a great impact in terms of cost reduction. Now, another aspect that is critical in reducing costs and improving throughput is by increasing equipment availability, of course, through improvement to their maintenance programs. So most cement companies are using a preventive maintenance approach or a calendar-based maintenance approach. An interesting study from ARC shows that only 18% of asset failure is actually age-related. It means that preventive maintenance provides a benefit for just 18% of our assets. So predictive maintenance is definitely a recommended option for the other 82% of the assets. Now, and according to the latest Global Mine Site Technology Adoption Survey, predictive maintenance is actually one of the most widely adopted areas of investment. So this is very good news. Now, as I said earlier in the analytics journey, first, I mean, we have to think, before thinking about predictive analytics, we have to start thinking about simple predictions with conditions that our people already know. So those conditions, can be implemented by reliability or maintenance engineers. After they've done a root cause analysis, they find the conditions and they can implement those conditions directly into their PI system. And this is exactly what lots of companies have done. And as you can imagine, Cemex, of course, has as a lot of other cement customers, they've implemented the condition-based maintenance in their PI system. and of course, following root cause analysis that their engineers have done. Of course, I mean, there are cement companies from all over the world that did the same, including in India, that also implemented such great improvements to help them improve in their maintenance practices. I mean, such as in this example, Ultratech Cement, for example. I mean, they're leveraging process data and equipment data to monitor equipment status and, of course, help them improve plant operation and quality. Now, I've selected another great example here for condition-based maintenance so that everybody understands. It's from Norsk Hydro. I mean, they did a great presentation. They're based in Brazil. Norsk Hydro is actually the largest alumina provider. It's not in cement, but this is a very good example that can explain how they did that. I mean, they sat with their people, engineers, managers, operators, to identify conditions that were leading to pump failure. This is a general equipment that all cement manufacturers are using. And by doing that, they've actually identified 13,400 conditions that were leading to a pump failure. So this is a very good example. And of course, they've implemented all those conditions into their PI system for real-time automatic monitoring. So now the PI system is monitoring those analysis or those conditions in real time for all their pumps throughout all their sites. And of course, this led to a significant improvement in terms of risks, but also in terms of cost reduction, as you can see with what they have shared with us. Now, the next step is, of course, to start thinking about implementing predictive maintenance using advanced analytics platform. And even we can start thinking about prescriptive maintenance using artificial intelligence. In this example, Votorantim Cimentos, also in Brazil, and this is a great example of a successful implementation of predictive and prescriptive analytics that was implemented on top of the PI system. So they implemented 60 assets, such as the ball mills, the kilns, etc. And as you can see, just during the proof of concept, they saved more than $1 million, and within the first year, they saved actually $6 million. So now they're actually, of course, doing a global rollout on all their assets, on approximately 900 assets. So this is a great example of a successful predictive maintenance implementation, leveraging operational data from all their assets. Now, in terms of process optimization, again, using operational data combined with trend analysis for diagnostic analytics, that is actually performed by human, can also bring significant improvements. And then once we start leveraging even the first step of predictive analytics or real-time process condition monitoring using known condition by process engineers, well, there can be quite significant improvements that a cement company can achieve. And as you can see with this example, UNACEM, which is a Peruvian company with locations in Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, and USA. I mean, they started monitoring the grinding activities more closely using their PI system, as we've seen earlier. And of course, they've achieved significant improvements, as they have shared with us. I mean, totalizing 6 million of profits or additional profits in their first year. So again, once you start visualizing and diagnosing your operations in real time, you start improving. Now, as you saw, those companies are succeeding in their digital transformation journey. I mean, but they're doing it in a step-by-step approach that we just talked about. Cemex, which I've shared a couple of examples earlier, I mean, of course, they've continued into this journey, and they started implementing the last levels of the analytics journey, the adaptive analytics, which will actually prepare themselves for the future. So they did a pilot project on their kiln cooler operations to, of course, in order to eventually have the full kiln operations become fully autonomous. So the project was actually a success, and it actually helped them to reduce process variability and increase throughput, and of course, reduce the downtime. So they actually made it in a 3-step approach. First, they looked at, are we able to predict the operations using specific set points using predictive analytics? When they were comfortable with those predictions, they started building a model to see if it would be able to prescribe and recommend the optimal set points that would be required for the operations. And when they were comfortable with the prescriptions, they actually linked the model to the kiln control system and fed the set points to engage into autopilot. And of course, it was a success. Of course, now they call it autopilot because it's like in a plane. I mean, even if it becomes autonomous from a security perspective, they want to make sure that if something goes wrong, they have an operator inside to be able to take over. So in order to conclude, I mean, in summary, first thing you need to succeed in the digital transformation journey is to implement all or into an industrial data infrastructure, the PI system, to allow you to visualize your data and your assets digitally. Second step is to leverage your people's expertise by allowing them first to see trends in real time and perform investigations, and then they can start implementing by themselves conditions that they find in those investigations for condition-based monitoring, for example, condition-based maintenance, condition-based process monitoring, condition-based environmental monitoring, energy, etc. And then finally, now that you have access to all your operational data in a structured way, and you have involved your people in the digital transformation journey by having them participate in trend analysis or implementing condition-based monitoring, you can then start leveraging those advanced analytics platforms and artificial intelligence platforms to implement predictive and prescriptive maintenance, for example. So thank you very much. I hope you found it interesting, and I'm happy to support or answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Martin, for sharing interesting insights. So audiences, we can quickly take one question from Martin, if you have any, and then we are going to move to an interesting set of roundtable. So any questions, you can raise your hand or you can put it in the chat box. I would love to take it from there. So I think, Martin, and when the question comes in on the chat box, we would love to take it from there and we'll address you the same. Is that okay?
That's good. Yeah, I'll follow the chat box, and if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer in live.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Martin, for sharing wonderful insights and being here with us at such an early morning from Canada all the way. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yes, now, folks, moving to a very interesting discussion roundtable, which talks on cement tech talks from technical improvements to holistic business and operational development. Now, as we have mentioned that we're going to discuss around the 4 pointers, that what are the benefits of being early adopters of Industry 4.0. Second point that we would discuss would be digitalization, which offers flexibility and resilience for cement producers who are able to automate or operate assets remotely. Key actions companies take across the entire value chain to produce cement in a manner that is both economical and ecological feasible. And how do you prepare your plan for future? Also, we'll have interesting insights from how industry can benefit on employee motivation, customer and cultural change. So to start with, I would first like to invite Mr. Gopal Krishna, Regional Business Head, Mumbai with Prism Johnson Limited, RMC India Division, to share his insights. So Mr. Gopal Krishna, thank you for being here, and over to you to share your thoughts.
Thanks, Ekta. First of all, I would like to wish everybody the safe and good health, because we are going through the pandemic situation continue. It is now 2 years almost. So before I will jump into that, my points, I gone through the Dr. Kuldeep Singh, Mr. Shah, and the Martin discussion, and the Dr. Arvind discussion also. I just want to elaborate on that point and continuation in that line. Let's first move into the how the 2022 going to move. If you go to the economic, that what situation is going to come into the 2022, if you will see the India will move to the 8% as compared to the other four country, if you see that USA, China or UK, who is the more into that nearest to us. Based on that, I'm just giving you the few more input, 8%. Based on that, which are the segments, it will move in which direction. Now, if you move to the finance sector, I've got some data on that. In 2022, their movement in dollar 22 to 23 trillion. If I'll go to the e-commerce and the health and life insurance, they will be around $10 trillions. Now there is another two segments which is going to move in the different direction, will be a more targeted area, especially in India. If you see construction and real estate. Now, construction and real estate, how they are going to grow, the most important factor, the requirement of the construction today is cement and steel. Now, today we are in the movement discussion on the cement. To fulfill the need of the construction or the real estate, the important factor is how to, the demand and supply gap should be fulfilled. Because in a cement company, you cannot set up the plant in 1 year or 6 months to fulfill the demand what is going on. Like government have come up, like not discussion happen, number of smart cities, infrastructure is coming up. So that there is a huge boom is there. If you go back the 1 year last, so before pandemic and after pandemic, the situation is totally reversed. We thought the infra movement will be slow, where the cement supply, cement demand has gone very high. To fill that gap, we cannot fix up the plant in a small period. So what is that option left with us? The option left to improve the productivity of that plant, and how it is going to improve. So we are all business guy. We are all thinking that everybody's thinking, if you go in any business, any review meeting, we discuss only 4 parameters. What is the top line? What is the bottom line? What is the cost parameters? And how we are going to retain the talent pool. Today's world is moving in that direction. And it was earlier also. Now the things are moving very fast on that direction. So how to go top level and bottom level and cost optimization. So I just elaborated all these pictures before jumping into the conclusion that why it is required. Digitalization, why it is required. Why Industry 4.0, now technological world is required today. Why retention pool, today's like retention of the all talent is required. If we'll go 20 year back, 30 year back, you or me who are working, now we all are working, and the new teams are coming up. The wavelength in all the segment is very, very different. So today's world where the new peoples are coming up, they are highly technology savvy. The best example we can see that the data analysis, what that does now our colleagues have shared, Facebook, WhatsApp, it is how it is happened. It is all because of the technology. Whoever has captured the world at the current change movement is going on, they will move very fast in that direction. One example, recently I was going through the articles that Ultratech, I was just like Dr. Arvind has discussed on that 30% of our cost is in the logistic. If you see that part, they are come up with the Ultratech, just few points I have collected. I'm not sharing in the PPT. So what all their trucks are automated. Now in this case, they have covered in the 3 parts. In the same time, they are covering the safeguard of the drivers also, which is today's very important. That is, they are particular about the whoever the partners associated with them. Second part, because of the automation, they are tracking the trucks movement, they are tracking the drivers movement, they are tracking the safety of the drivers. It is another part of the logistic point of view, how they are coming up on that. Now, another points are moving. I'm coming towards the logistic, towards the production now. We say, like just now Martin has told already, preventive maintenance is important. But when we do preventive maintenance with the physical, it is only 18% of that. But when we'll use the technology, things will be in a different mode, because it is controlled by the system, the process, it is controlled by the number of people. But otherwise, if you are doing it manually, it is done by the person who is at the plant level. He can only physically do the. But when we are using the technology, it is controlled by 10 other peoples by sitting in the head office, by sitting at the different location. He can analyze where is that gap. So I'm just elaborating behind that why I've used all this platform. Digitalization today's requirement is on a very high need. Now, who's the going to adopt very fast? They will move the fast. The result we can see that the demand supply gap. The person who will adopt the faster, they will able to move in the market very fast. They will acceptance will be the very fast in the market, because it's a world where everybody work on the digital. Best example, if you are not accepting the change, if you are not accepting the technology, Nokia, they were out. Ford cars, they're all out. whoever the accepting the challenge, moving and collaborating, there is another factors coming now, who's collaborating with the current scenario, they are moving little faster on the situation. I'm just giving you the brief on that. I will not take much time on that part. So I just, in a summary, I want to say that it is a time to accept the change and accept the technology on an immediate basis. Don't wait the things to happen. It is a time to accept the things and move ahead on that. Thanks. In short, I just want to express my view on that.
Thank you, Mr. Gopal, for sharing interesting insights. Along with me in the roundtable, I would also like to add that we have Mr. Praveen Jaswani from OSI and Mr. Shrikant Hulgi from SVB, who is the Cement Industry Technology Partners. So of course, we'll have questions and interesting insights coming from both of them during our discussion that's going to happen. So now, again, I would like to now invite our second thought leader, that is Mr. Manoj K. Rastogi. To speak about him is the Executive Vice President, Sustainability R&D Business Strategy with CapEx Project as JSW Cement. So Mr. Manoj, thank you for taking out your time today, and please share your thoughts with us on the subject.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ekta, for having me here. Thank you, Kamaldeep, Shrenik, and Martin. So this is I think I would like to take a step back and understand, what Arvind was talking and what Martin was talking. Couple of things, because it is very important to understand the structure of the industry in India, where we are and where we are going to be moving in the future, and the churning which has happened. The whole world has been shaken up in the last couple of years. So what are the learnings, which are there, and this churning, this is the way the things are developing. This is a continuous thing, and there are long lasting implications which we all have to accept and adjust and adopt. So the first thing which is there, the point, I want to make is to understand the cost structure in the cement industry in India. So we are in India, we are one of the largest country-wise. The volume, which we produce, more than 300 million tons in terms of the demand. In terms of the installed capacity, we are more than 500 million tons. Second largest in the world, by a huge distance, second only to China. The demand is going to increase further. So the next 10 years, we look for a growth with the economic activities picking up into the infrastructure and into the housing sector. So we are looking at a good amount of growth which is going to happen in the cement industry. And we are still at a per capita level in terms of the cement consumption, which is very low compared to the developed economies. So there is a potential for the industry, there is a huge potential which is there, and which is good, to be part of the growth industry. The other thing which is very important is to look at the way, we used to define the industry, and we used to run and manage the industry in the past, and the way we have to do that. And this is with respect to the climate change risk, which is the biggest risk, we all of us we face in cement industry and outside cement industry as humanity. So the point is, I think the one of the major point for the digitalization for me is bringing it, or aligning it, the technology and sustainability. And this is something, which is very important. In the past, we have done piecemeal some effort, onto it, but I think it has to increase a lot. Uh, the case study on the CMEX was very, very good. I think this is one case example, or a use case, for the digitalization. But there are many more which are possible. like, you know, having a sustainability calculator, not only for the cement industry players, but for all the contractors, all the consumers, for the government bodies, for NHAI, for PWD, for railways, and for everybody, that they have, you know, real-time sustainability calculators which are there, and you know, then on the whole value chain, I mean, on the life cycle of the final built environment, they are able to monitor, you know, how much impact, you know, they are having, you know, with the growth, and the linking the growth with the sustainability. So it is good to grow, and then we have to grow for sure, but the growth has to be sustainable, and that can only be done, you know, when we start analytics onto that, and that monitoring has to happen in a very, very large way. In India, that is the large scope, you know, which I see today, which is untapped, and then, you know, it is there available as a big opportunity. The other thing which is there is on the supply chain, the point which was there, the 30% of the cost, you know, which is coming on the supply chain, and network optimization is one area which I feel, you know, in supply chain is something, you know, which is underutilized. In India, there is a huge scope, you know, for the network optimization, which has to be done. So where the consumption is happening and where the production is happening, and this is not a specific, you know, to a company specific. This is a industry issue. This is a country issue, and a lot of efficiency, you know, which is possible by optimizing the network, you know, the supply and demand in a large volume industry like cement. One of the other things is like understanding uh, understanding, you know, the availability and the maintenance, you know, the point again which has been discussed. So preventive is something, you know, which is a history. Predictive and prescriptive, that is the future. Today, though in India, our capacity utilization is only 70%, you know, for most of the companies. I think it is very important for us to increase the availability of the plant and machinery, and moving on to the productive and prescriptive maintenance, you know, to have the cost efficiency and also the quality efficiency, you know, by having lesser standard deviation. So this is something, you know, which is also going to be very helpful for India, because if the demand is going to increase, the first thing is what my colleague was talking about, Gopal. That is, you know, the first thing is whatever the capacity which is already installed and available, that has to be the full extent possible, which is only 70-75% today. So these are the some of the pointers, you know, which I wanted to share. The In summary, one of the most important thing which I feel and strongly feel that is something which is untapped is the whole concept of the digitalization, taking it to a level. It could be a blockchain, it could be, you know, some new cutting edge way of doing it, but taking it, you know, from the manufacturing of cement to the final built environment for the infrastructure sector, for the housing sector, and doing it end to end in terms of real time sustainability calculators. That is the need of the hour, and I think a huge scope also. uh, these are my thoughts, Ekta. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Manoj. I saw Mr. Kamaldeep Singh, sir, raising hand. So, sir, would do you wanted to add something to this?
Yeah, I heard this very interesting view which Manoj and Gopal has shared. Manoj touched upon an area of network optimization, and this is one subject which we have been doing earlier. But I was under the impression whether the industry is seriously interested in that or not, because network optimization give opportunity, yes, and there are ways of doing that. uh, I am sharing my experience with you. Long time back, maybe around 8 or 10 years back, we did some study for ACC for the North and optimize their network and all. But after that, whenever we talk to industry, their main focus was tracking the trucks, improving the turnaround times, those type of things. Very few people came up with the thought of whether they actually want to do a network optimization. In fact, the Thailand people, they are looking for these type of solutions and continuously doing it exercise every year or 2 years to look at the network. So what's your opinion? Do you think the industry is ready to adopt these type of technologies?
No, it's a valid point. I think, Mr. Kamaldeep, but the things have changed in the last 10 years, and the things are going to change, further in the next 5 or 10 years. So the point is, we have more production which is happening now, and if the demand today is a 330 or 340 million ton, in 10 years down the line, we are going to be around 600 or 650 million ton, and that is where the efficiency pressures are going to come on the supply chain. These are going to increase, day by day with the increasing volume. Cement is a very local play. It's a local play, and the network plays a major role into it. So we see this happening in the Europe, because they have like stable operations, and then they move to the network optimization. I think in India we still, uh, some of the companies, and some of the plants which are older plants and all that. Though overall we are highly efficient, in terms of the thermal efficiency and the electricity consumption and all that, both specific heat consumption, specific power consumption. There are challenges onto the operation side, in terms of the maintenance and all that. But the next problem statement which is coming is going to be on the network optimization, and with the fuel prices going up, the logistic cost, keeping increasing, and the safety of the drivers and the stuff like that, the people and the labor we touch upon. This is something which is a huge area, which is not tapped, and I think, I strongly believe there is a huge business case for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see Mr. Shrikant would also like to add some value to it. Over to you.
Yeah, good evening. My question to Mr. Manoj, the digitalization implementations or initiatives, every company, every industry is talking about. It's really fast growing and rapidly taking the front seat. But there are two aspects. One is to implement and envisage the digitalization initiatives at the active implementation stage, and other is at a passive implementation stage. Many companies are getting into the new capex projects, especially the JSW is very aggressive in going through the big plans and coming up. How are you going to accommodate these plans? Do you have any plans to accommodate digitalization provisions in your new capex plan?
Yeah, we do. But at the same time, as I earlier said, cement is a very low cost commodity. We sell cement for 7 rupees a kg or less than 7 rupees a kg. How many things, which are available, at 7 rupees a kg? Practically nothing. Water is more expensive. Everything is more expensive than that. Out of the 7 rupees kg, you take the GST out, you take the supply chain out. What is left, within the plant boundaries is maybe 2 rupees or 2.5 rupees, at max. How much you can really think through, in terms of the cost benefit analysis and how much you want to pump in over there. But at the same time, I think, because it is so competitive, and it is such a low cost commodity, out of the 7 rupees, even if you save 10 paisa, it's a huge saving on the volumes. So we do have budgets, we do have plans, in terms of moving into the AI ML journey, and then looking at the use cases. But if you ask me very frankly, I think the play is not in the plant boundary, but the play is outside the plant, both in the supply chain, in the network optimization. And the third, which I feel is, having these real-time sustainability calculators. So we have to migrate, because we have fixed set of thinking, the way we used to work, that has to change, and the things are changing. Mr. Kamaldeep spoke about, a lot of disruptions which are happening. The other colleagues who spoke about. So we are in a disruptive environment. So the cement is no exception. Okay. The technologies in the construction are going to change. There are going to be 3D construction of the houses. There are going to be precast construction. UAE is doing, 90% of the precast construction. So there is a journey which is going to happen in India also. The problem statement today, if you ask me for digitalization, is outside the plant boundary rather than inside the plant boundary. That's what I feel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manoj. So now I would like to invite the views of we have Mr. Sibaji Mitra, Vice President, People, Sales Strategy and New Product with G&G Group. And he would like to share a short introduction of BCG framework and how industry can benefit on employee motivation, customer and the culture change. So thank you, Mr. Sibaji, for being with us today, and would love to hear your insights.
Thank you, Ekta. I was thoroughly enjoying the conversation with Manoj. It was so exciting to hear all this, because in the plant, in our plant, in Max Cement plant, we are trying to digitize the maintenance and the quality both. Within the boundary, not outside the boundary. So, and I've seen that, since I'm handling that project for the digitization of the maintenance, so I know the kind of, the problem one can face, and the problem in terms of not only for in collecting the data, but also for the environmental problem, that there's so much of dust, so much of fumes, so much of rain also in our area. So, I have seen that, the RFID tags are going off, the LoRa system is not working. So then I'm end up doing nothing. And finally, doing all these things, finally, we are trying to, establish that process of digitization of the maintenance. One part is ready, several parts are still pending. So the digitization is the one part where we are really is moving ahead. But before that, is the subject for which I have been is called for here is basically but there are a lot of framework I have seen when we have actually moving towards Industry 4.0. I have seen that there are a lot of framework, but the most important and the right framework might be the BCG framework, which is basically telling all the time that reduce the cost, optimize the cost, optimize your production, and of course in a sustainable way, and the production process in a digitized mode. So these are the basic things under which the basic framework of the BCG stands on. Now, the first thing they are again saying that you have to do the predictive maintenance. When you are doing the predictive maintenance, finally you have to go in for the analytical based maintenance, prescriptive based maintenance, and then the adaptive maintenance. And with the help of the digital twin. And of course, the way we are doing it now, that is the third step of the BCG the framework, is a predictive quality analysis and followed by the fuel optimization and the integrated control towers, and also is how to digitize the supply chain management, which Mr. Rastogi was telling all the way. Now, which I have seen that doing all this, the most important thing is how to really, how to do the revolution in the plant flow, revolution in the plant flow management. When I'm talking of the revolution in the plant flow management, is basically I'm talking about how to increase the morale of the employee, how we are going to have, when we are telling that the morale of the employees is growing by doing the Industry 4.0, by doing the digitization all the way. And then, of course, the morale of the customer is also going up. And in totality, in the integrative way, you are going to have a total new culture. Now, the continuous problem solving strives and the better collaboration. And I have seen that when I have done this as a maintenance, the digitization, I have seen that the unified data culture, the open and connected data culture, eliminates all the silos and the frustrations. I mean, I'm having the very young engineers, group of 150 engineers, and the demography is around 100 very young, and the 50 which are above 40 and all. So I have seen that the young guys, they're very fast, and the guys who are above 40, 45, they are trying to cope up with the guys who are really, really very fast in the whole process. And in the process, I have seen that we have been able to really, achieve the plant floor revolution. There's an absolute revolution and the better knowledge transformation. And the solution has also become very fast. I mean, previously my turnaround time of a certain maintenance breakdown, let's say in a SACA reclaimer, is half an hour. Now it has also gone, the turnaround time has gone down. And we have also seen the, not the major breakdown, I'm talking of the minor breakdown. I'm talking about the breakdown which is really happen every now and then in the plant like us, it's taking a decision. So you are having all the data available, and you are going to exchange the data, better knowledge transformation, which I have already told you. So for that, I am seeing that there is a faster solution, and there is a real workforce transformation. See, if you see that we are only having a part of digitization has done, only a part of, not the entire maintenance model has done. The part of digitization has done, and within that, I have seen there is a huge amount of the employee transformation in terms of the it's a revolution, I would say. There's a very well collaborated employee I can see now, and all the things like the forward thinking leaders, because I've been able to grow the forward thinking leaders, and there's a shift across the entire organization in terms of the employee engagement and the faster solution to the productive problem. This is, and now when my employees and the engineers are that way extremely the motivated, I'm going to have and I'm having them very motivated customers. Now these customers, when they are basically going to have some kind of thing, some kind of problem, I'm also having the new product development going on now. And so here I have seen that when I'm having some kind of, the feedback from my dealers or from my influencer, I've been able to adopt that particular things within the team and then going ahead. See, by doing only the maintenance digitization. So this is one of the very major part I have seen that this is going to really, is not only for us, but also for everyone. For the predictive, for the maintenance part, if I can achieve this small by doing only this small thing, maintenance digitization, if I can able to increase the entire morale, if I do the entire part of the entire, if I go to each and every silos of the digitization of Industry 4.0, your achievement will be huge. Your achievement will be enormous. So the Industry 4.0, in case you are having the early adopters, I'm not saying that I am the early adopters. I am doing it as maintenance digitization, and the maintenance digitization is also a part of the Industry 4.0. So if by doing it, I have been able to achieve it. If I do the entire maintenance, things through this Industry 4.0 and all other things, all of the steps in the Industry 4.0, definitely the challenges in the employees, the beta culture, the challenges within the employees, which we are basically, is facing now, is going to be solved. So this is why, since I'm in the process of doing it, I thought that, that I should tell this part of my story to the audience. So Ekta, this is from my side.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. Now, I would like to move the discussion to, we have Mr. Sandeep Kothari, Senior Vice President, Orient Cement Limited, CK Birla. So, Mr. Sandeep, your thoughts on the subject. Over to you. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Ekta, and thank you, members of my peer members of my team or my fraternity. I would like to take two examples how digitization has moved in Orient in last 2 years. I will take one leaf from Mr. Gopal Krishna and one leaf from Manoj. we have implemented a process on the cost optimization, what Gopal was mentioning, that we talk of only top line, bottom line. So to counter that, what will be the supply chain cost or the total cost of delivery? We have invested in a product called Optimizer, which has all the parameters of the cost of the production plus cost of transportation to different locations. We have 3 plants in Karnataka, Telangana, and Maharashtra. So to particular destinations, which mode is going to be the cheapest mode and which mode is going to be the safest mode is being calculated by the optimizer. And all the cost parameters which are there, maybe the fuel cost or the fly ash cost or the cost of production and fixed cost, including all the cost at the delivery point, what will be the cheapest cost which I'm going to deliver, that has been run through in the system on a very monthly basis when the sales numbers comes on the 1st of month, and then this optimizer is being run. And through that, we know that which are the routes which are possible to have and what is the challenges which we may face, because we may be a route which is cheaper by rail, but due to railway restrictions, we are not been able to implement that. So that gives an added value also. If there is a restrictions, then you will get the next best option. One is the best option, and if there are some constraints, then you will get the next best option, what is there in that. So with this tool, we are able to service the customers to the best possible way in the lowest cost, or the best cost. I won't say lowest, I will say that the best cost what is available on that period, we are able to do that. And this is a very flexible tool, where in case if there are, because fly ash is mostly depending upon the running of the power plants, and grinding units are very located near to all the power plants. So whenever there is a breakdown in, or there is a maintenance in power plant, you won't be able to get a fly ash. So you have to move from the original source to some other source. So that cost is also again revalidated on and it can be, the model can run on weekly basis, or if needed, it can be run on daily basis to see which is the best option for you to run in that direction. And again, then the second, which is partly inside and outside digitization, which we have done, is basically on the with transporters. So most of our transporters who are there, they can now directly log into the delivery orders and they can place their trucks. So we have in 1.5 years back, we have invested in a tool which is vendor collaboration. We have developed some business logics in that, so that the major player who is there, he is going to get the first right of refusal. If he is not placing the truck, then probably the next set of transporters are going to see the delivery order. And if they are also not been able to do, then this is the on particular plant, the delivery order will be visible to all the transporters. They are free to deploy their trucks. With this implementation of this vendor collaboration, we earlier in our logistics team, we were working around 4 to 5 people were working to manually allocate the orders or see that how it is going to be in system, and then the transporters are able to deploy their trucks. Each at gate, you need to keep calling the people that please come, and this truck number, that truck number. So that has eliminated 100%. And this system is working very fine. So our rate of success in the order execution within 4 hours is approximately 65 to 66%. We are able to fulfill all the orders within 4 hours. And if we consider the maximum of around 18 hours, we are able to convert, whether it is day and night, I'm not counting only day part, day and night, including all this, we are within 18 hours, we are able to complete 84 to 85% of our orders are getting completed within 18 hours. and rest there are some issues or some delays which takes place are there. So that is what this system has given a huge advantage in terms of availability. This gives a option also that how many trucks are available in yard, how many trucks are with order, how many trucks are without order, how many trucks are in the plant. So every 3 hours we all people get alert that this is the dispatch which has happened, and the number of trucks which are there, which really were those who are waiting for the orders. So this gives a visibility to sales also. If there are any orders needs to be punched in, they will also come and do the required orders in the system. So the system works very smoothly. This has reduced earlier when 4 to 5 people were working and it was all being managed manually. Now this is a system which is being managed by the transporters. As soon as the SAP orders get punched in, it is visible to the transporters and they can deploy their trucks as per the requirement. The new initiative on the digitization front, which is being implemented in last 6 months, is on the electronic proof of delivery for the customer. This is slightly not 100% matured, but it is like a complete coming to the maturity level at this moment. With this process, what we are doing, we are eliminating the paperwork for the transporter. What I mean to say in paperwork, that once the electronic proof of delivery, there's an app which has been developed for that. So a driver, when he reaches to the plant after his truck registration is over and his shipments is there, he comes to the at the factory gate. He enters in the app, he enters and then he gives an OTP. So he's confirming that he is taking a delivery. Then once he moves out of the plant, then his trucks is being tracked by the GPS of the which is there in his mobile. When he reaches the destination, so his destination is geofenced, so we know where the product is getting delivered. Once the product is delivered, he takes a confirmation from the customer, and on that basis, he can directly upload his invoices in the system without any intervention or without any taking a physical delivery from the customer. So when electronic delivery is there, that is treated in our system as a proof of delivery, and the transporter can upload his invoices directly in the system without any intervention. He can click on the button, submit invoice, he can do the invoice submission. And that invoice directly will come to the finance, and the finance will clear his bills according to the operations which are there. So this is how we have adopted our digitization journey. The journey is just begin, and it's a very long way to succeed, because the success rate in this electronic proof of delivery after 6 months is around 60 to 65% we are able to reach at this level, but planning to reach in a better way. So this gives two advantages, because cement, as everybody says, this is a commodity product and cheapest product, but still it has a lot of value in that. So backward loading or backward unloading and forward unloading, so all these things where the product is being delivered to the right customer or not is the main criteria which we have implemented here. And we are removing all the paperwork from the transporter, so that they are also happy. They can see their bills which are there, passed, not passed, is there any issue. So this is how we are moving forward, and I hope most of the companies are adopting the digitization process, and with this hopefully we will reach to a level where everybody is happy. The customer also can track his shipments, because it is like we see as when there is a delivery from Amazon or Flipkart or somewhere, the e-commerce site, we can track that this person is going to reach by this time. So similarly, the customer can also track where his shipments is going to be and when it is going to be get delivered. So this is how we are working towards the digitization journey in Orient. Hopefully we will reach to a very good level, and where we can appreciate the achievements which has been done. This is small case studies which I would like to, which I thought I will share with all you people, and see that if there are any inputs or is any suggestions, we can take it forward from there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sandeep, for sharing the interesting insights. Of course, we are running a little more on the time, but we have Mr. Ganesh Tripathi, Mr. Dilip, and Mr. Pradeep Jeswani who would quickly share their insights. So, Mr. Pradeep, if you're there, you can on your video and put some questions, or if you have anything to add to this, then we can move on to Mr. Ganesh and Mr. Dilip. Okay, meanwhile, he joins in. Mr. Ganesh, we have Mr. Ganesh Tripathi. He's a Senior Vice President, Manufacturing Excellence and RMX Operation with Nuvoco Vista Corp Limited. So, Mr. Ganesh Tripathi, your thoughts on the subject. And thank you for being with us today.
Good afternoon, Ekta, and good afternoon and welcome to this interactive session. So, a lot of our fellow colleagues have explained about the need for the digitalization and what they are doing in the plant. I will go little different in a trajectory where I'll just divide it into two parameters. One is in-plant digitization, one is out-of-plant digitization. When I talk about in-plant digitization, most of the cement companies they face the biggest problem is because the plants are not new. Some plants are old, some plants are old within 40 years, some plants are 20 years, some plants are 5 years, some plants are 10 years. So the level of digitization, level of things they differ. But as a company to bring a digitization to a common platform, it becomes really challenge. So how to mitigate that challenge is one of the key aspects to understand that how digitization is going to penetrate my business model and my operating model. Today, everybody have understood the disruptive innovations which have been done in digitization, and people have seen the benefit in their personal lives when the digitization has helped their personal life so much. So nobody denies the benefit. Most question comes when the digitization proposals come to the table is just to justify the the value analysis or the cost benefit analysis, that what is first, is the digitization first and the cost is next, or the cost leadership is the first and the digitization is next. So a lot of digitization proposals normally shunt between this dilemma, and it is really a catch-22 situation for all the manufacturing professionals. But going forward, my view is that digitalization is definitely going to improve your working methodology, and there are different discrete digitalization platforms are available which can be used in small things which can add up to a larger things. So instead of looking at the very macro level about the digitization, I think the organizations are also taking up a very micro level digitalization, which are very small and which is adding up to a larger digitization platform. I think that is in-plant digitization. For example, to give some specific examples, having a mobile-based application just for your maintenance time, calculating MTTR, mean time to repair. That also itself gives how I am planning my resource, or having a mobile platform for even my production scheduling or S&OP process, and that run within the particular small group of activities and finding out whether the efficiency is coming or not. So that is also another type of things. Apart from that, when I talk about the out of the plant digitization, yes, we are also into this optimizer mode and the similar thing, whatever our colleagues have shared from Orient. And I think these are definitely giving us benefit. And especially I had seen in RMX operation where I am having multiple plants, multiple transit mixtures running within a city, and I have 4 or 5 plants in a city. Why definitely through the digitization and our entire transit mixer, around 400, 500 transit mixtures what we have, these are all covered through the GPS. So we know which mixture is available where, which mixture can come to which plant for taking the material to which customer, so that my delivery cost will be less. Whenever I'm shifting pump from one plant to another plant, I also see that how I can use that platform to see that my overall cost is less. So a lot of things are happening. I think my view personally is very simple, that digitalization is required for the organization, but at the same time we need to find out our cost models to fund the digitization. That is what is happening, because every time in the cost leadership, people are asking the first question, because current market scenario, someone was told that the cement is around 7 rupees. Out of 7 rupees today, around, you see 30-40% is your logistics cost, and the power cost is almost another 30%. Because with the recent hike in the power coal prices and other prices, the power cost which was there around 800 rupees per ton has gone up to around 1250, 1300 rupees per ton. So the business EBITDA is getting affected. So under this current scenario, when the business EBITDA is getting affected by input raw material costs, at that time, funding for the digitization is really a key. So business leaders need to take a very, very calculative path to find out how the digitization is going to improve their EBITDA. That is what is the biggest challenge for the industry right now. I think that's my view about this.
Thank you, Mr. Ganesh, for sharing interesting insight. Now, of course, we have Mr. Dilip Makija, Associate Vice President R&D with JSW Cement. Mr. Dilip, thank you for being here, and please share your thoughts on the subject, and then we can move on to Mr. Pradeep and Shrikant to share some interesting insights.
Yeah, thank you, Ekta, and thank you, Ecubix. Just to share my thought before going ahead, actually, I'd like to mention that my primary area of interest is R&D. So I'll be trying to touch upon how digitalization actually can support research and development work. So when we see, I'm going to say over the last so many decades, if you see the quality of limestone, especially over the mines it is going down. So going ahead, no, you cannot expect similar kind of limestone quality to get. So with this kind of scenario, what you can expect is that you have to obviously use different kind of industry waste and other raw materials which are available in plenty, but at the moment are not utilized within the industry. So these kind of raw materials include maybe different slags which are available in the steel plants, or different kind of mining overburden, or even other alternative raw materials which are available across, I'm going to say, in geological reserves. So with this kind of raw materials, no, so it will be very difficult with such heterogeneity to use such raw materials in the existing operations where we are having clinkerization units. So digitalization, I think, in this sense can help in two ways. First, on the energy front, and second, on the consistency of the production quality, what we are achieving from the clinker kiln, I'm going to say rotary kiln. So digital twin or virtual simulator, what Martin also has touched upon, and Mr. Kamaldeep Singh also has touched upon. Both of them have aware of the view that I'm going to say kind of predictive simulation at this moment is enough. But coming from the perspective of R&D, what I feel is that only predictive kind of modeling and simulation will not serve the purpose for utilizing such kind of raw materials within, because the heterogeneity of such raw materials is so high that only predictive will not serve the purpose. You need to have experience and kind of analysis power over the period of long data range. So once you have generated a long data utilizing such kind of materials, no? So what Martin also touched upon is that a prescriptive kind of analysis is required so that while using such raw materials, I mean, the research has to be carried out anyhow, but once you carry out the research, you cannot risk at the plant because plant being very costly, you cannot take risk in the plant. So we need to have such kind of simulator and prescriptive analysis where in such digital twins, you'll be able to get the kind of prescription from the model itself. And once it is prescribed to you, then it has to be self-learning kind of model which you need to have, which is what adaptive model, what Martin also touched upon. So this is one of the points what I need to touch upon. And second is from the perspective with respect to the fuel side, because there are many models available in simulation software available, which actually take into consideration what is the heat balance required in the rotary kiln inside a clinker making unit. So integrating such simulation softwares along with the digital twins, I think that can help very much, because once you are sure that how much energy is required using such kind of raw materials, so it will be very useful not only in reducing the total heat requirement within the rotary kiln, but also it will save a lot of, I'm going to say, CO2 emissions. So that is what Mr. Manoj Rastogi also has pointed upon. We have to link this kind of digitalization initiatives with the sustainability aspect also. So both of these cases, case one where I touched upon the use of alternative raw materials as a source of, you can say, lime or even the clay materials or even iron ore kind of materials, And second is the total heat requirement within the process itself. So these two aspects, both these aspects actually cover the sustainability in a point of view, because if you see the already available waste which are in the steel plants or even non-ferrous industries, no? So if you see, most of those kind of materials are already calcined materials, and they, once they are heated and melted in, I mean to say, once they are heated and try to form the compound within the rotary kiln, those will not emit extra carbon dioxide. So those, since those are already calcined, so you'll be having a kind of, you can say, less CO2 generation from the process itself. So both these point of view, I think, covers in that sense your sustainability initiative. So we need to actually see how best digitalization, especially the virtual simulator, what we call digital twin, no? How best such models can help doing latest R&D work by utilizing of alternative fuels and raw materials. So that is what I'm going to say from the R&D perspective. That is my point of view.
Thank you, Mr. Dilip. So now we had interesting insights from the leaders. So over to you, Mr. Shrikant. Would you like to ask something? And then we also have Mr. Kamaldeep sir raising his hands. So over to you, Mr. Shrikant. Any thoughts on this or any questions to the panel?
Yeah, thank you, Ekta, and good evening to all. It was really, really very insight and very in-depth discussions we made from all panelists, allied panelists. My only viewpoint is now it's not a word of a fancy to say some years back, the digitalization. Just name it, that's the need of each and every process. Somebody mentioned the in process and out of the plant process. Yes, now it's not only in and out, it's there in the geology, mines, minerals, your in process, environment, energy, sustainability. Just name it, there is a potential to get into the digitalization precisely because I just want to very quickly just to see, I was working in a plant where we need to see the initiatives driven was to achieve the zero fuel cost. Initiative driven was to achieve the best quality of the clinker. Initiative driven was to achieve the highest TSR in use of AFR. Initiative to achieve the best productivity. So it's all very, very balanced parameters to achieve in a particular process, then that needs really, and on top of it, someone was rightly and very aptly mentioning the flying input raw material costs nowadays. So the digitalization is only answer for every aspect. The only need is to identify where to start from. So probably I'll leave it to the panelists to identify the most high value and high returning areas where we can start discussing on the potentials of converting it into digitalization opportunity. That's what my view. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shrikant. Kamaldeep sir, your thoughts.
Yeah, thanks, Ekta. I would like to touch upon what Mr. Dilip just mentioned, and that looking at only the predictive maintenance tool is not good enough. There is a lot of human intervention is required. So I fully agree with that. I think data, people, and technology, all three need to be looked together, because without people intelligence, their involvement, their buy-in, their pushing the things to the next level, and they need to have the right technology, and the data has to be something which they can depend upon rather than struggling with the data. So all these three things have to go hand in hand. Only then we'll get the value out of that. So if we say that predictive maintenance tool technology or AIML will do wonders, I don't think that is true. So agree with you, Mr. Dilip. Other point which I want to mention, which Mr. Ganesh said, and actually that is quite an interesting thing which you mentioned, that should we look at the total digitization approach, or we look at a smaller initiatives and try to improve one process? And then you talked about application for tracking the maintenance or downtime between the two failures or the repair time, etc. Now, see, all the organizations, they take both the approaches, both are okay to do that. to my mind, if what comes, and I will also invite Pradeep Jeswani, who is from OSA Soft, and to comment on that. But what comes to our mind is whether you are building up a planned city, for example, a highway, Chandigarh, for example, a planned city developed, you want to take that approach, or you already have a city in hand. For example, take Ahmedabad, Bangalore, or any other city. And now you want to create certain clusters of improvement. You're creating some malls, some areas, some SEZ, or some other things. So both the approaches seems to be right, depending upon priority of the organization and the budgets. But if you have a 6-lane highway, you're opening up so many opportunities for development. We have seen that in many of the areas. And even for digitization, I think same holds good. I give you an example. We were working with Dr. Reddy's, and they have more than 24 plants. And first objective they put forward that I want all my 24 plants connected, all data at a single platform. We want to work with a single source of truth. Then we'll work out what we need to do with this data. And the roadmap was there that we will do predictive maintenance, IoT, this, that. And once the data infrastructure was put in place, the first thing they looked at, they said, can I reduce my changeover time? And you won't believe it reduced more than 60%. And there was 80% reduction in the conversion or material cost per batch. If they were using, let's say, 45 minutes for setup, it reduced to 15 minutes for setup time because of the insight they develop. Once the data is not there or tools are not there, our human mind is also unable to see certain insights into that, the story which this data tells and the story the processes tell. That's where all three need to work together. And if we have the right infrastructure and technology, I think it will create a lot of opportunities. Otherwise, we are limited by the thinking what we have. And we think, okay, let's do this improvement and that improvement. At the same time, I'll agree that a couple of organizations, they definitely do a piecemeal or step-by-step approach. They let's improve the maintenance process first, or the production, or TAT, or outside vehicle tracking, etc. So I would also like to hear Pradeep Jeswani's comment, because he has a large number of experience and seen this debate happening at various platforms. Pradeep.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. This is Pradeep over here. I've been involved with in a lot of conversations with industrial companies in India in the last 5 years. So our products being adopted by some of the Maharatnas like ONGC, IOCL, NTPC, a lot of industrial companies like Ultratech from Aditya Birla Group and the Vedanta Group and everything. There's a lot of awareness about what the OT system and what we can do with the OT system is there. So there are pros and cons to every type of approach, but the way that we look at it is two things. A lot of people have talked about digitalization. So many of the points I wanted to talk about, I'm not going to make. But one of the things that we try to do is how do you make it simple for the industry, right? So mostly it's a brownfield industry. None of these industries are being set up by itself. There are different consumers and everything. So you need a system that can go, be put in place, be able to access the data and do the analysis without IT coding. That is one of the big things that people don't understand about the value over there. How can you create a platform in such a way that you can access your data, manipulate your data, not make it an IT project, let it be driven by your subject matter experts instead of some IT people who would, take a lot of time doing that. So this is the kind of conversation that you've had with a lot of customers. Usually, as I said, it's a brownfield environment. Who's going to consume the data depends on every different departments and who wants to, really move forward within the company on various different initiatives. But one thing that I've seen is when people understand how the platform can give access to the data and you can analyze it and drive all these initiatives that you all are talking about without it being difficult. Simplicity is something that we've seen works very, very well in this environment. Kamaldeep.
Yeah, thanks, Pradeep.
Thanks, Pradeep, for that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I think we are already half an hour before the time because the discussion was so interesting. So before I close, any final thoughts, Shrenik, or we can close it?
No, so first and foremost, I would like to thank all our guests who attended this physical roundtable. A special thanks to all the panelists. I can clearly understand we've short the time by half an hour, so it's almost like 2 hours of this particular session. But I believe all the insights which each and every panelist has given must be useful and insightful to all the other members who are attending this particular roundtable conference. From Ecubix and Branalytics team, I thank each and every one. And our teams will be reaching out to you individually for a one-on-one meeting. So request if you can assign some of your team members to have this particular meeting with us, where we can give you more insights on the kind of solutions and the case studies and the applications that we've deployed, and we can see if we can take our discussion forward and we can help you in your journey of digital transformation. And stay safe, stay healthy. I think that's the need of the hour. I think last 1.5 to 2 years, this environment has really taught us to change ourselves and ensure that we stay safe, stay healthy. So once again, thank you each and every guest, each and every panelist for attending this particular roundtable, and thank you for having an interactive session.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so on this closing note, yeah,
Thanks
I would
a
also
lot.
like to thank our partner VCS and OSS Soft and all the thought leaders for really taking out your precious time and being us with today. Of course, we'll be sharing the entire video session. And as Shrenik mentioned, we would love to connect you with one-on-one brainstorm session with VCS for your digital transformation journey. So that's all. Please stay safe, everyone, and we'll be reconnecting again, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye, and thank you so much.
Just last one thing. A special thanks to Martin for particular roundtable. It's too early in the morning, so really thank you and appreciate Martin for joining this particular session and giving a useful insight on all the case studies that you presented. So really appreciate logging in at 3:30 in the morning. So thank you once again. A special thanks to him.
Of course, yes, Martin. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you, everyone,
you.
and have a lovely evening and weekend ahead.
Thank you, everyone.
We
you,
enjoyed
everyone.
it all.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Thanks.